So, good morning, all of you. Am I audible? Am I audible? Okay, thank you. So, I think we have been discussing greedy algorithms, and inside that, we have been discussing the job sequencing with deadline problem statement. So, we have discussed two scheduling algorithm. One is activity selection problem. Activity selection problem is a problem statement in which just a minute. So, activity selection problem is a problem statement in which series of activities has been given along with start time and finish time of each activity. Your job is to schedule the activities in such a way such so that maximum number of activities can be performed. So that was one problem statement. Second one was job sequencing. Again, it's a scheduling problem, but here instead of a start time and finish time, what we have been given is a deadline of a job and profit earned by a job. So if you finish this job before this deadline, then we will earn this profit for this particular job I. This is what it means. And we also discussed the approach. I think we'll quickly go through this algorithm. In previous class, we have already discussed how it can be solved. So what we are doing inside this algorithm, let us first go at it. What have been given is two parameter. First is D, capital D, which indicates a deadline of job I. That means it's a vector variable or it's an array. Second is P. P is a profit. Again, for every job you have a different profit. So that means P is also a vector parameter. So it means that it is also an array. The first step will be you have to sort the job in order of its profit. That is what we have assumed over here, right? Just for the simplifying the algorithm, we have just assumed that the jobs are to be sorted in decreasing order of profit. That means you will first start with scheduling the highest profit job. So that means the first step is sorting on this P in decreasing order. That means you will start with the largest profit job. Now your job is or your task is to schedule the largest profit job. An approach says that you should schedule the largest profit job as later as possible. That means if there are the deadline of this particular job is 4, then you should first start with scheduling or finding the slot for this job from location 4. If location 4 is not available, then you should come back and you should find location 3, then location 2, then location 1, right? Once you have reached at a location where you cannot schedule a job, that means that you cannot schedule that particular job. So that's what we are doing in this inside this algorithm. Let's just go through it. And uh, first step is you find out how many jobs are there. So n is a number which is actually the length of d. That means that will give you number of jobs. Initially, you assume that no jobs are scheduled. So that's why what we are doing, X represents your output variable. It means that you are not scheduling anything. That means all the slots are empty. So what you are doing, X of I is equal to 0. When X of I equals or it becomes 1, it indicates that that slot is occupied. So initially no slots are occupied. This variable we are using for calculating the total profit after the scheduling. So initially it is set to 0. Then we will look at each job inside the order of its profit or decreasing order of its profit. So you will start from the first job. So I equal to 1 to n. First you will find out what is its deadline. So k is the deadline of job I. I means 1. So k is the deadline of job 1. What you are doing, don't look at this while over here. What you will be doing is you will look inside the kth slot of x. So if your deadline is 4, then you will look at the fourth slot. That means you are starting looking at the last slot which is suitable for that particular job. If that slot is empty, so if x of k is equal to 0, then you will occupy that slot with this job I. So what you are doing, x of k is equal to 1. That means slot is occupied. Profit is equal to profit plus p of I, then break. This break is for this while loop. Okay. In case you are not finding x of k equal to 0, it will go to the next statement which says that k equal to k minus 1. That means now you are looking at the previous slot. Once you look at the previous slot, again you should check for this, again you should check for this, again you should check for this, till your k is greater than 0. So now you can understand why we are using this while loop. That means you are starting from the last most appropriate slot for that particular job, which we have found using deadline of that job, and then we have reached or look in all the slots starting from its deadline to 0. Whenever slot is empty, you will schedule that particular job and you will break. This break is for while loop. Once you finish with that job number I, then you will go for I equal to I plus 1. That means now you are looking for the second job. Again, you find the deadline of the second job. Again, you start with its deadline. If slot is empty, schedule it. If it's not empty, then decrement it. Repeat this. So ultimately what we get is a better scheduling algorithm considering a profit and deadline both. Profit we are actually taking into the consideration by you sorting the job, and deadline we are taking into the consideration while applying the approach. So let us now just have a quick look at the step count. Step count for first statement. Obviously it's an assignment, so 1. This is a for loop, so big O of n. Again it's 1. Here you have while loop, so big O of n. Inside that while or outside that while loop you have one for loop, so big O of n multiplied by n, so that means big O of n square. So that means that total time complexity for this algorithm is big O of n square, plus we have assumed that jobs are sorted. It should not be assumed actually. So that's why the time complexity is big O of n log n plus big O of n square. The higher order term is n square. That means n square is greater than n log n. That's why the time complexity is big O of n square. So I hope it is clear, right? Any doubt, then you can write it in chat box or we can move further. Anyone? Okay, fine. So let's look at the next topic of discussion. And once again, it's a repetition for you. We have already discussed minimum spanning tree in your second year, right? Before we go inside this description, I hope it's better to have a demonstration what we mean by minimum spanning tree. So let us say we have this graph. So it's a weighted graph. The second thing which we want to understand, weighted graph means that each age is having some weight associated. Just say 5. Okay. So this is a graph in which we have exactly 4 vertex, right? And then how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 edges. So this is a graph in which we have 4 vertex and 6 edges. And this is not a simple graph. We have a weighted graph. Weighted graph means that every edge is having some weight associated. So this weight or this edge between A and B has weight 4. This is 6. This is 2, like this. So this is a graph, right? First, we need to understand a spanning tree. Spanning tree means that it's a subset of graph in which you don't have any cycle. So let us say we want to generate a subset of this without any cycle. Obviously, there are cycles in this. Cycle means a loop. So if you see this, you have a loop over here. So you start from A, you follow AD, then you have follow DC, then DB, CB, and then BA. So that means there is a loop. Again, you start with A, follow D, AD, then DC, then CA. So this is another loop. Similarly, there are many loops in this particular graph. So this cannot be stated as a tree, right? Tree does not have any loop. And we are not just a tree, but we are finding, or we are interested in finding spanning tree. Spanning tree means that all the nodes of a graph are connected. So let us first understand what is. Leave it. So this is particularly, these are the vertex, right? So we are interested in finding the spanning tree. Now, first of all, this is not a tree because all the vertices are not connected. So what we are interested in finding a tree. So that means you want to find out something like this. So that means they should be connected. So let us give a connection. Right. So now they are connected. So this is a tree, but this is not the only tree which you can generate for this graph. What you can generate is something like this as well. So this is also a tree, right? So my point of discussion is that for any given graph like this, like this, you can have multiple spanning tree. Let us say this. This is one spanning tree, this is another spanning tree, this is third spanning tree. Each of these spanning tree means that all the nodes are connected. Right? Here you can see all the nodes are connected. This is not a spanning tree because here these three nodes are connected, but this A is not connected. Right? So first condition is that they should be connected. Second condition is that there should not be a loop. So here you cannot find any loop, any of this. Right? Minimum spanning tree means what? Not just it is a spanning tree. Now you are looking at the weight or the total weight of that particular spanning tree. So what is the total weight of this spanning tree? It's 4 plus 5 plus 2. That means it is 9. Right? 4 plus 5, sorry, it's 11. Right. Similarly, if you look at this, is the total weight 4 plus 10 plus 6. So 6, 10, 10 plus 10, 20. Again another here. What is this? 4 plus 10, 14 plus 2, 16. Right? So now we have three versions of a a spanning tree, and we are interested in finding out the minimum spanning tree. It means that we now are looking at the total weight of that particular spanning tree. So here it is 11, here it is 16, and here it is 20. So what is minimum? Obviously this is minimum. But this is minimum with respect to these three only, because this graph does have more spanning tree as well. Right? If you look at this graph, we have more spanning tree as well. There are many actually, due to the nature of the graph. Right? So now if you look at this, what is the total weight of this spanning tree? It's 5 plus 3, 8 plus 2, 10. Clear? So the objective is you will be given a graph, which is a directed graph, and we are interested in finding out the minimum spanning tree. Minimum spanning tree is defined as a spanning tree. Okay, a spanning tree is defined as a subset of graph for which all the nodes are connected. That means, or a subset of graph or a tree, sorry, a subset of, it is a tree which is a subset of a graph for which all the nodes are connected. So that is a spanning tree. But here we are interested in finding out the minimum spanning tree. Minimum means because this is a weighted graph, the total weight of all the edges which makes that particular spanning tree has to be minimum. So that is our objective. So that means if I give this as an input to minimum spanning tree algorithm, this should be the output. No, there is one more. If you look at this, okay. So this is also a spanning tree because all the nodes are connected and there is no cycle, there is no loop inside this. And if you see the total weight, it is 4 plus 3 plus 2. That turns out to be 9. Clear? So for this given graph, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 version already over here, but there are many actually. But output should be this. I don't think this is the minimum spanning tree for this graph. If you look for any solution, this will be the minimum. So our objective is to find out this when given this. So that's why this is a problem statement. I hope the problem is clear. Now we will discuss the description and what it means and how we can find it out, right? So let us quickly go through this. What is been given is an undirected graph G, which is a set of V and E. V is a set of vertex. So here our set of V is A, B, C and D, right? E is a set of edges. So here our set of edges is AB, AD, AC, BC, BD and CD, right? Because this is undirected graph, AC and CA are same. If it was a directed graph, directed means that instead of having a simple point like this, you have something like this, where now you have some direction involved. So here now it's BA, and if you have the reverse one, then it is AB. So in that case, AB and BA are different. But when you have undirected graph, then AB and BA are same. So AC and CA are same. So if you see from that perspective, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 edges. So that represents set of edges. For each UV, for each edge UV, U indicates the first point and V indicates the second point, belongs to E. We have a weight associated with it, W of UV. That means W of AB is 4, W of AD is 6, W of BD is 10, W of DC is 2, W of BC is 5 and W of AC is 3. So this is what is being given. Our objective is to find out this, but before that you need to understand this. So what is spanning tree? It's an acyclic. Acyclic means that there is no loop. Acyclic subset T of E that connects all of the vertices. Why it is a subset of E? Because this represents an edges. There are 6 edges. Here we have taken 3 edges, AB, AC and DC. Here we have taken another 3 edges, AB, BC and CD. Here another 3. So basically your spanning tree is a subset of E. So T is a subset of E which connects all the vertices. That means no vertex are disconnected. Then minimum spanning tree, total weight is minimum. How greedy is useful? Because it has a greedy choice property which says that safe edge UV which can be added safely without violating the condition. What is the condition? It should not have a loop. So you can start with a simple node. Okay, you can start with no edges. And start with something like this. That means initially all the vertices are not connected. Using some greedy approach, you will keep on adding the edges inside this so that two things are achieved. First, condition is not violated. What is the condition? Condition says that there should not create any loop. So whenever you are adding the edges, you should make sure that you are not creating the loop. Let us say if you have added these two, then you cannot add something like this. Right? Or even something like, yeah, this is the loop which you will create. Fine. So this is how greedy is useful. Greedy, every time it starts with the null set, every time it will find out an edge which is safe for adding into this tree till you create a minimum spanning tree. So that is the greedy approach, a general approach. There are basically two algorithms. Okay, the same thing. The graph is given, and our interest is in finding out the minimum spanning tree, and this dark line shows you the minimum spanning tree for a given graph, right? You can observe that there is no loop inside this, there is no loop, and all the edges are connected. And third, the total weight is 37, which is minimum. This is just an example to understand what it means. However, you always can have multiple MST, multiple minimum spanning tree for a given graph. For example, here you can remove this CD and you can add this IH. If you make this change, then also your spanning tree, or you will find out the another minimum spanning tree, because in that case also total weight will remain 37, but set of age has been changed. Here it was CD was a part of minimum spanning tree, IH is not part of it. Now when you replace the CD with IH, then IH is part of minimum spanning tree and CD is not. So that means if you look at the simple properties of MS tree for any given graph of node V and edge is E, it will always have V minus 1 edges. Obviously, there is no cycle. So if there are 7 nodes, then you will always have 6 edges. If you see this, 1, 2, 3, and 4 nodes, then any of the spanning tree will have only 3 edges. So here 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, this is not a spanning tree. Right? So that is the first property. If there are n number of nodes, then n minus 1 edges will be there in spanning tree. Second, it has no cycle. Obviously, when you look at this, there is no cycle. And it might not be unique. That's what I have said. CD may be replaced with IH. So that means you can have multiple minimum spanning tree for a given graph. Right? So what is the generic algorithm? Generic means how to solve it, this problem statement, how to generate the minimum spanning tree. Generic means no approach, it is just an explanation of what we can do, right? So graph is given G, W is given a weight function. You will start with A is your minimum spanning tree. A is initially empty. Empty means there are no edges inside A. What you are doing, while A does not form a spanning tree, you must have some mechanism to tell that A is a spanning tree now. So how to do that? That we can discuss using Kruskal's or Prim's. But at this time, you must have something which tells you that A is not a spanning tree. That means still you are not reached at a solution. So while A does not form a spanning tree, second, find an edge UV that is safe for A. Safe means it does not violate any constraint. So you must have some mechanism for finding this. Kruskal and Prim's has different mechanism for finding this as well, right? So you must have some mechanism which will tell you that what is the edge U and V is, or how you can find out edge UV, which we can add it to the solution space. Once you find it, that edge, you will simply do A is equal to A union UV. That means you are adding that edge inside the solution space. You will repeat this till your A is not a minimum spanning tree. At the end, you will return it. So basically, any minimum spanning tree algorithm, tomorrow if you are suggesting some algorithm, then you must answer these two questions. First question is how to check whether A is a spanning tree or not. And second question, how to find an edge which is safe for A. That means which can be added into the solution space. There are two gentlemen who have given this approach using greedy. One is Kruskal and second one was Prim. And both of these algorithm we are going to discuss. It was also there in your DS subject as well, but still we are going to discuss it. Right? So there are two algorithms basically for minimum spanning tree. I hope whatever I have discussed till now is clear. If you have any doubt, then raise it. Otherwise, we can move further. Anyone? Okay. Fine. So let us go further now. These are some definition. which is actually used in the algorithm. You should understand this, but if you don't understand this, then also you will be able to understand the algorithm. But actually, it is inherently there inside that algorithm. But we will discuss on that as well. First, cut. What is cut? Cut means you are dividing your set V. V is your vertex set. You are dividing your set in two parts. One is S, and second one is the remaining from V. So you have divided your vertex set into two parts, S and V minus S. So let us say if you have this graph as an input, then we are making a cut like this. It's a imaginary line which you are drawing on a graph in such a way that your entire graph is divided into two parts, or vertex of the graph is divided into two parts. It can be anything, right? It's not like a simple or straightforward partition. It can be any partition. Simply you are dividing the set of vertex. So here we are making a cut. So that means now we have two set. One is S. S has four vertex A, B, and D, E, and V minus S. V minus S five vertex I, H, G, C, and F. Okay. Then edge UV belongs to E, said to be crosses the cut if any of these endpoint or both of these endpoint belongs to the different set. So either U belongs to S and V belongs to V minus S, or vice versa. V belongs to S and U belongs to V minus S. From looking at the graph, you can see there are many edges which are crossing the cut. Crossing means that you can see this. This edge is crossing the cut because one endpoint is in S, second endpoint is in V minus S. Another edge, this is also crossing the cut. Another, this is also crossing the cut. This is also crossing. This is also crossing. This is also crossing. Whereas this edge is not crossing the cut. The reason for that is C and F both are in a single set, that is V minus S. So any edge is crosses the cut if the endpoints of that edge are from a different set. Third terminology says that a cut respects the set A of edge if no edge in A crosses the cut. That means this particular cut respect this set entire, this CI, CF, GF, IH, IG, and HG, because no edge in this set crosses the cut. Similarly, you have this is another set, this is another set. So these all respects the cut. Light edge. Light edge means what? You have n number of edges which are crossing the cut. So here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 edges are there which are crossing this single cut. Light means that an edge with minimum weight. So here weight is 8, 11, 8, 7, 14, 10. So what is the light edge? This one is the light edge because it has the minimum weight 7. Right? So basically what your approach will be, you will make a cut, you will find out the light edge, and you will join these 2 points. Initially you will assume this is actually, we'll discuss this in Kruskal, but these are some definitions or terminologies which can be used or which are used actually in subsequent algorithms, that is Kruskal's and Prim's algorithm. Again, before discussing the description and the algorithm, I think the best way is to understand that, right? So let us okay. So let us draw some graph. I think it is complex enough to understand the proceeding. So let us say this is our graph which has 5 vertex and n number of edges. Right. So I think now we have weight for every edge. So this. Okay, fine. So first of all, is this a graph? Obviously, yes, it is a graph, right? And we want to find out the minimum spanning tree for this graph using Bruskel's approach. Okay, right. Bruskel's approach says that Bruskel's approach says that you will start with no edges at all, right? And second thing, you will short the edges in order of its weight. So now let us say we have this edge AB which has weight 2. Then we have AD, sorry, AC which has weight 18. Then we have AD which has 8, weight as 13. Okay, how to add the row? Fine. Again, we have an edge between A and E which has weight 3. Then let us look at B. So B has edge, BA is already there, so BC weight as 4. Then you have BD weight as 5. Then you have a C and D. CD has weight 7. Then you have CE, weight as 9. Then you have, okay, CA is gone, CB is there. Then you have DE, weight has 2. So this is our age respect to this. I think there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So there are 9 ages. First step in Kruskal's algorithm is you sort the ages in order of its weight. So if you sort this, so let's create duplicate. Let us sort it. So AB will be okay. It's fine. It's first. Then you have DE, which is also having weight as 2. Then you have 3. So AE and 3. Then you have 4. 4 is BC. 4. Then number you have is 5. It is already there. Then you have 7. Okay, fine. Then you have 9. Okay. Sorry. This is BD and 5. CD and 7. CE and 9. Then you have AD and 13. Then you have AC and 18. Right, so this is my shorted version of ages. So that will be my first step. So let us put this aside. Let us focus now on this. So we have this. Okay. What is next step? Next step says that you take an age in order of its weight. The first is AB. If two endpoints of this age are not connected, then you will simply add that age inside a spanning tree. So this is part of my spanning tree because these two are not connected, right? But since it is now part of my spanning tree, I will connect it. So this is the first age which I am adding to this minimum spanning tree. Second is DE. Is D and E are connected? No. So what I will do, I will connect it. Obviously, you may argue that AB first or DE first, both are having weight as 2. It can be anything, right? It can be DE first and then AB, but the ultimate is it doesn't make any sense. It will simply create two versions if it is the last stage, right? So D is also part of my spanning tree. Then you have AE, okay? A and E, are they connected? No, there is no connection between A and E. So what you will do, you will connect it T, and this age is also part of my spanning tree. Then next is BC. B and C, are they connected? B and C. C is not connected to anything, right? So obviously these are not connected. So you will connect it. Weight is 4. And yes. Okay. Next is BD. B and D. Are they connected? It seems that they are not connected, right? But connected doesn't mean a direct connection. It also means the indirect connection. So if you see this, B is connected to A is connected to E, and E is connected to D. If you add this edge now between B and D, now it will create a loop. So it will basically violate the input constraint. Constraint says that it cannot have any loop. If you are finding a spanning tree, then it should not have any loop. It means that you should not connect this B and D because they are already connected via some another path. So this is not part of my spanning tree. Then you have next C and D, right? Again the same, if you connect this, it will create a loop. Then you have next C and E. Again this, if you connect these two, then will create a loop. A and D already connected via this. So if you connect this, it will create a loop. A and C, if you connect this, it will create a loop. So the point is that now no other edge can be part of my spanning tree, right? So basically my spanning tree has these four edges: A, B, BC, AE, and DE. And the total weight is 2 plus 3, 5 plus 2, 7 plus 4, 11. So the total weight of this spanning tree is 11, which is actually minimum spanning tree. Okay, so this is Kruskal's approach. It's very simple to understand actually. You know, algorithm may sounds complicated, but the approach is very simple. Algorithm is complicated because you require to maintain the data, right? So what was your approach? Approach was very simple. You have been given a graph. Graph means you have been given set of vertex and set of edges. So this is my edge set, this is my vertex set. First step is you sort the edges in order of its weight. So this is my sorted edges. Second step is now you will scan or take each edge one by one, check its endpoint. If they are connected, then no need to add into the solution space. If they are not connected, then you add it into the solution space. So this is a simple and straightforward approach of generating a spanning tree. Right, time is up. I think we will discuss the algorithm in the next session. Any doubt till this point? Okay. So with this, I stop my discussion on minimum spanning tree. In the next class, we will discuss the algorithm for Kruskal's approach. So thank you all and have a good day.